Let's go. Let's go. I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time out of their night and joining us. This is Real Bread Life. I am Jay Rome. I think I got it going on all platforms. So let me make sure. I just got to open up the Facebook so that it's live. Because this is where I messed up before. No one could see it but me. Uh-oh. All right. So hopefully it's going where it should go. So okay. So this is Real Bread Life. I am Jay Rome. Catch us every Thursday, 6:15. Today I had a couple things on the agenda, which was actually going to be building a foundation as far as it relates to the business. It relates to everything that surrounds building your business and just keeping it sound and solid and sturdy. But earlier today, I got a call from one of my guys, Ricky, and Ricky was a guest last year or the year before sometime. It was a while ago, but actually his videos got a lot of views. You can go check it out. And he called me and reminded me that he had just gotten out of the business and he kind of did it on the quiet, which is a good thing with what we do so that no one could taint what he was doing and kind of muddy the waters during his process. And we had a conversation and he was just checking in on me, which was dope. And I liked that. And he didn't even realize that today was the day that, we do the live, and because he's just been living his life since he's been home for the last couple of weeks. And I asked him if he would come on today and be a guest so that he could share his journey for over the last 20 years. And he agreed. So we're going to have Ricky come in a minute, and we'll get into his journey from how he got started and what he's going to be doing later on. So before we do all that, I'll get into the couple things I wanted to talk to, which was the hold on a second. I got a couple people here in the chat, and let me turn these comments on for the stage. Raul Teixeira. Hola, what's going on? How you doing? Appreciate you checking in. Okay. I can't even say all that. W. Thank you. Appreciate it. See, we got a few people in here. So let me get to it. So my man, Ricky, like I said, he was in the business for a while, and I really wanted to ask him a few questions so that for aspiring people that want to get into the business, they could see what they need to do, figure it out, and understand a little bit more of how this thing really works. Okay. So let me bring my man in here. Ricky, what's going on, buddy?
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your night to join us. I'm going to pull me out of the screen and I'm going to let you rock out. I'm going to ask you some questions and we'll just go from there. Okay. So first things first, we're going to start chronologically. We'll start from the beginning and we'll go all the way through your process. So let's take it back to the very beginning. What drew you into the bread route business 20 years ago?
One word: money.
Yeah, we'll take it in one word.
Money. That's
okay.
Plain and simple. Money.
Okay, the money.
I was working 3 jobs at the time, and there was a bread guy that I would see every day. He asked me if I'd be interested in working for him part-time. Started doing that part time. He saw some value in me. He offered me a job full time working for him, in this making the same amount of money as I would working 3 jobs. So for me, that's a no brainer. So just started networking my way through, and after that, he started introducing me to company people and other people. I started running his route on vacations, and all of a sudden, everybody wants a vacation. The work for the company, um, as a shipper, did that. Um, and then once they had a route that was available. By then, I've already had probably a couple years in, so I knew where there was opportunity for growth, as far as making investment with the company. And I went out on my own time, looked at all the accounts on my own time, and saw what the previous guy was doing, and determined that there was a lot of meat left on the bone. And um, just by doing things the way I do, I'm trying to stay efficient and maximize sales, and just balance everything out. I was able to grow a route. I bought a route that was doing. I think I bought at 9.5 a week, and within the year, I was pushing about 16. Um,
Okay, so we'll get into those numbers in a minute. So you went out, you checked it out, and you liked it. What was the first day like? Were you overwhelmed? Was it what you
oh, it
thought it
was.
would be?
Well, the first time I was on the route, um, I was working for the company. They needed somebody to run a route. Um, that was vacant at the time. I believe the guy was deceased. Um, and so there was another guy training me on it. And then once he left, it was I'm not gonna lie, it was hell. I was putting in some long friggin' hours, and I couldn't understand how this guy was able to get through his day that quickly. But then when I was on my own, it felt like it just took forever. And there's some points I'm like, geez, I don't know if I wanted the amount of hours I was putting in. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to go this route, but I'm not one to quit, just because things get hard. And, once I started developing my own system and started do different things, and, I was able to save on time. And, after a while, once you get a system going, everything went pretty smooth, and I got
Oh,
pretty good at it.
okay, that's good. Thank you. So, all right, that's going to go into my next question. What was one of the biggest surprises or challenges that you faced the first few months? You just started, you liked it, you bought it, you were going. What was one of the first big, challenges or surprises that you were like, "Oh, wow."
So
I know
when
there's
I
a few, but just give us
well, when
one.
I bought, so I was running a company route for a while, right? And after that, the company offered that route to me.
Okay.
At the time, I denied it, and I started working for the company as a shipper, right? And that's just going around and getting your product to your doors, and this and that. So I understood the process. I worked for the company, and I ran a route, right? So when it came time to purchase a route, I had a very good understanding of what I was getting into, and um, what it took to be successful, right? So the biggest thing for me was coming up with the money to do it.
To
And
purchase.
so many people get discouraged because they're like, oh, and it's even changed now. It's even less now. Before it was like 10% down of whatever your value is. So let's say if it's $100,000, you got to come up with $10,000, right? And let's be honest, a lot of people, they don't even have $10,000 laying around to invest into a company. But if you think about it, you're only putting up 10,000 of your money, and they're going to give you 90% of their money. right?
Right.
So, the biggest challenge was the money, right?
That
But
was
if you,
the biggest challenge going in.
yeah, of course, because you have to get a truck, right? You need a certain size truck, you know. So you're going to a bank trying to get a commercial vehicle. They're looking at you like, how are you going to do that? You work at, XYZ. You don't make enough for that, So then now, all right, well, that's to me, that's a roadblock, right? And um, my mentality is you're going to get knocked down many times by roadblocks, right? And
Right.
it's how you get up and face it, right? That's going to make you successful. So challenge one, money per vehicle. Well, guess what? Now I gotta get a bigger down payment. I'll get a some kind of note from the company stating that I'm going to make this amount of money. So I'll give that to the bank also. Now I'm like calling all favors for family members, whatever. Hey, can you throw me a couple grand? Can you throw me this? Got that money scrounged up. Now, so after that, then I knew I had to grind it out and pay that off, pay those people back right away. Right. So, um,
Right.
but
So that was one of the biggest challenges.
yeah, I
The
believe so.
the
Cause I mean,
money,
the money,
the
cause
down
nobody,
payment and the truck.
yeah, cause how many people, once they find out that, they'll see a roof for sale, oh, you'll make $100,000. And then,
Right.
oh, you got to come up with $10,000. You got to come up with $15,000. And then everybody's like, oh, I don't have that money, and then they just give up, right?
I got you.
So instead of giving up, find a way, make it work, right? You want it,
Right.
make it work. And
Right.
people that are very successful in real estate or very successful in other types of businesses, you know they figure it out, right? You want to make a
Right.
change in your life, figure it out, right? And that's what
Okay.
I figured it out. Now, does that
Right.
mean you can go to a bank, you get a personal loan, you can get somebody to co-sign for you? There's all kinds of options, right? It all depends
Right.
on how bad you want something. So that's what I did. That was honestly the biggest challenge of the whole thing, was just coming up with the financing and get the ball going on it. Because
So
I didn't have anything. I had like $3,000 in my bank account. That's it. That's all I had.
okay, that's the statement I wanna go with right there. So you had 3,000 in your bank account. You decide you want to do the route. You're working for the company. You're working in the warehouse, staging the routes because you said you were doing shipping as well, and you were driving for them. So with that being said, you realize they offer you a route and you want to get to it. The biggest challenge you faced was having all the money. So you called in some favors. You restructured how you were going to go about the loan so that you would have enough money and have some money on the side for the truck. So meeting that challenge, you get started. Now, looking back, what advice would you give someone just starting out in the business, knowing what you know now, when you rethought the process, got the money together, you started out, you met those first couple challenges. I'm sure there were other challenges as well that went with those. So just give me one or two things once you started looking back that if it was your younger self, you would say, do this instead of this at this beginning stage of the business. You know what I mean?
I it's a good question. Um, but I can honestly say that um the way I handled it and the way I went about it, I don't feel like I would change anything because um I understood. Well, let me rephrase that. If it was me trying to mentor or teach somebody how to get into the business, right? It's understanding the numbers, right?
Oh yeah,
If
yeah,
if
yeah.
if
We
you're
definitely, yeah.
so
So do you think that was a challenge under learning to understand those numbers?
I don't want to say I don't n- for me, not really, because I've always been very business oriented. I mean, I used to sell bubble gum at school. I'd buy it for like 25 cents and sell them for $1. So I was always kind of like hustling and running numbers in my head and how can I make profit. So for me, it really wasn't hard. to make those kind of financial decisions. But I know that there's a lot of people that's one of their biggest challenges is being able to see that a small amount of investment can give you a bigger amount of income if you just give it a chance. If you look at the numbers and understand, all right, I'm going to make this, this, this. This is my initial investment, but I'll give you a quick example, right? Let's just say you're looking at a 10-year note, right, for a BBU
Wait,
roof.
wait, wait. We're gonna go in. We're gonna go into to the note and the 10 years and how that works. But I know where you're going with the numbers. Hold on one second, because I want to finish with you from the beginning of starting.
Oh,
And you're
so for me, it was just excitement, and I was just so I saw so much potential to make money, right?
Mhm.
And when I just started off on my own route and in my mind, my own business, right? And again, this is 20 years ago. So 20 years ago, you can put bread, you're delegated an amount of space and you can put whatever you want, however you want, and that was the way it used to be. Well, that gave me free reign to be able to maximize my sales how I wanted. And I got so excited. For me, it was a challenge, right? I loved it because first week I did 10,000. Second week I was at like 12,000, right? I'm crushing numbers, crushing it. And I'm just like, it was just, you felt alive. You felt like, man, this is really going to pay off because I was going off numbers that the root was generating, but here I'm crushing it by like 50, 60, 70, 80% higher. And it became like, even with other guys in the barn, it was almost like a little competition. Oh, I did 20. I did 12,000 this week. Oh, I only did 11.5. I did 13 the next week. I did, you know what I mean? So for me, like, when I bought and I started that route, the money was coming in where there was no doubt in my mind that this was going to work. That's how quickly this money was coming in. It was
okay.
ridiculous.
That's what I want to hear. And I think that's what some other people want to hear about that money that you said, the thing that drew you into wanting to get the route and get started, that money started coming in. So once the money started coming in, as you're saying, which is a good segue into this question. So when that happens, it happens for a reason. What do you think was the turning point when the business really started to grow and take off from the route, your initial route? Let's start. What do you think was the difference? What
Are you
changed
talking
things?
the key factors, the difference between how I was running it versus how it was being ran, or the
I'm just
the
saying,
opportunity
at
that I was
some
seeing?
point, it started to grow. It was
Right,
doing good. You
right.
started one way and it started going another way. What was one of the things what was the turning point there?
I mean, it was right from day one. Right from day one, I knew, um, right from day one, I knew it was gonna be successful because, you know, pe- my shelves were getting blown out of product. I couldn't bring enough in, and as I was bringing more in, how I uh, placed my product, how I merchandised, how I manipulated my SKUs and this and that. Well, from what my competitors were doing, right, they couldn't touch me, and I don't want to sound like you know arrogant about it, but they couldn't touch me. Like my stuff was just pristine, and the customers noticed that, and they just started buying more and more and more. And again, that's when I knew the only way was up, and that's what it was. It was just growing and growing and growing and growing. Again, every check every week got better and better and better and higher and higher and higher. So as far as like a turning point, I don't think there really was a turning point because again, when I came into this specific route, I saw the potential of growth right away.
Mhm.
Now, if I would have got into a different route that, let's just say, was mismanaged, maybe the guy ran left a lot of old bread on the shelves. Maybe the guy, there's just so many different variables. He just maybe ran into the ground. Well, to go in and fix that is a lot more challenging, because now you have to gain um, the confidence of those consumers again, right? So if those
Right.
consumers have been wrong by this product, whether they're getting it and they only have 3 days left to eat it, whether it's getting moldy, whether it's all these different factors. Well, to gain that back, that's a grind, and you're gonna grind. You're gonna
Mhm.
be pulling stuff out, putting stuff in, but if you stay consistent, and once those consumers, pick up that loaf of bread again and like, wow, this is so much better than before, or what happened? And if you keep that consistent, you can gain that customer base back, right? So it all depends on what you're kind of walking into. And if you don't realize what you're kind of walking into, then you don't really, you know what I mean? So for me, with that specific route that I picked up, that my first route that I bought, I knew right away, but that's because I already had the experience ahead of time, and I already knew that the potential of growth, you know?
Okay.
I know it's not quite an answer, but
No,
you
it's an
know,
answer. That's fine. No, I asked when was the turning point, and you gave me your turning point. So that's fine. Um, so let's talk about as you're building the business, you create the relationship with the stores and the customers, the business side of things,
right.
so what how do you handle the balance between the customer relationships and the business side? You know what I mean?
So, the biggest thing, for me, what I noticed is, you gotta go to your managers first, because back then, um, how you serviced your accounts determined on the amount of space or promotional space you get. If your manager thought you did a shit job, you wouldn't even get displays. So you didn't have the opportunity to sell extra product when you had promotions. You know, so now I got to gain, and this was the first route. Yeah, the first route that I bought too. I had to gain their respect, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not talking confidence. I'm talking respect, right? So what I mean by that is, when they needed something, and even though I was halfway home, or whatever the case is, I sacrificed my time to make sure that what they needed is what they got.
Right.
And it sucks, but that's how you have to gain their confidence and their respect. And then once you do that consistently, and I'm not talking like, you know, astronomical, requests. If you have extra bread at, let's say, like a shop right, and you really don't need it, but Big Y could use it. Guess what? I drove my butt down to ShopRite. I did a buyback, and I brought it right back to ShopRite and sold it to them. Right? Other guys won't do that. Right? They don't want to waste. That's to them. That's wasting your time. Right?
Right.
So, but when you're trying to build something, right? You're not just building your business. You're building your name. Right? Because I don't care what you do. If you don't have your name, you don't have nothing. Once you build your name, everything else kind of follows. So when I go to my accounts and they say Rick was here, they already know. I don't have to worry about Rick. He's been doing this, very consistently. And he shows up at 7 o'clock every morning. I know he's going to show up at 7 o'clock every morning. And and if we have problems and we call him and we have his number, guess what? He picks up. And he tries to resolve any issues or concerns. So again, you're not just building a business, you're building your name, because it goes, in my opinion, it goes your name first, your business second. And that's how you build your
Okay.
business, with your name.
All right. So um let's say thank you for sharing that about the balance between the relationships with the business and the the um the customer side of things. So with that being said, what other strategies did you develop over the years that really made a difference in running an efficient, profitable route or routes?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot to it.
Well, just
Um,
give us a couple of
so
the
one,
strategies that
so
you developed.
so one of the biggest things that I did in order to really maximize my sales, right, was
Hmm.
presentation. And that was I was taught by a gentleman who could sell ice to polar bears. That's how good he was.
Hmm.
And when he talked, I listened. And so, um, and understanding that there's a science behind it,
Hmm.
right? There is a science behind it. If you look at the different colors on our bags and our packages, you'll have like the Arnold section, right? You'll have like a purple bag, which is the multigrain. You'll have a green bag, which is the oat nut. You'll have a health nut, which was a reddish bag, right? And back then, um, you don't put two light colors together
Hmm.
because the brain can't process that. They'll see it as one because it's a quick flyby. So you have to like the way you put your coloring is so they can differential what the items are. You don't want to put dark colors with dark colors. You'll put a light color with a dark color with a light color, right? Again, it gets pretty crazy. So you know, and then as you present your product, all my stuff is always flush and neat to the shelf. So when take a step back, or even if I look down the shelf and I look at it, and if there's anything poking out that I see, I fix it. And I know it's going to get messed up, but when you look at your section, it's crisp, it's neat, it just says freshness, right? And then you have your competitors, right? Those are the guys that you're going up against. You're going up against your other competitors. Are they going to take the time to make everything flush? Are they going to take the time, to put their promotional stickers on their product? Are they going to do that? Or are they just going to rush and run and gun? And a lot of times it was rush, run and gun. And it just looked like crap, right? So in perspective, and let me put it into layman's terms, right? In perspective, if you go buy a car and there's two cars, same car, okay, and one car is cleaned up beautifully, beautifully, but the motor is crap, and the second car is just dirty, and the carpet's dirty, the seats are dirty, but the motor is just mint, right? What are the chances that somebody is going to buy the dirty car versus the fresh smelling new car, right? So put that in perspective when you're doing your business, right? You can polish things up and make it look even better,
Hmm.
and that's what people are drawn to, right? If people are going to pay $6 or $7 for a loaf of bread, you think they want it to look a little messed up? Do you think they want it to look? No, they want that thing perfect. So when you're looking and you're organizing and you're uh, uh, putting up your even your promotional stickers, if you're putting stickers up and you have them on the left corner, then you got them on the bottom, there's no unification. But if you pick a corner, right corner,
Hmm.
boom, 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 it's all unified, it's all crisp, it's all fresh. People are drawn to that, right? And those are the things that I've learned. One of the biggest things that I've learned how to sell product, and you got to keep it fresh. Well, if your presentation keeps your product fresh and people keep buying it, then you get the turnover, right? It's not sitting on the shelf. You got to turn over the product. You're not turning over the product, staying on the shelf. And when it finally gets off the shelf, now it's only got 3 days on it. Now that person doesn't get their best experience for that loaf of bread. So that's one of the biggest things, is the merchandising part, and promotions. People are so afraid to put up displays for promotions. Oh, it doesn't sell. It's too much work. I sell more over here than over there. Well, if you have a good item, in multiple locations, I don't care what anybody says, you're gonna sell more. And if you're selling more, well, guess what? That's gonna determine how much space you're gonna get the next reset. So if you don't want to do all those little things that maximizes your sales, well, every time you get your resets, or when they reorganize the aisles, companies go by what scans through the registers now with the technology, right? So if your bread is not scanning through the registers as much as your and your competitor is, do you think that store wants to give you more space? No, it's saying the consumer wants more of this, so they're going to give them more of that. So your supermarkets, they want to give the consumer what they want, because that's going to make more money for them. So if you're not doing those little things and you're just like, oh, it's too much work, I don't want to walk over here, I don't want to do this, I don't want, well, guess what? That's what's going to happen. It's going to be a slow bleed until you can't control it anymore. And then now you have not enough space to even merchandise your full line of product, right? So doing the little things, and how you present your product is one of the biggest things that I harp on. I still to this day, I have a hard time going to a supermarket and looking at the bread section and walking away from it. I can't even go down the bread section anymore. My wife yells at me because I can't. It just drives me nuts. I'm like, how do people like? It just it drives me nuts. So I don't even walk past the bread aisle anymore. I just go straight. I can't. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's one of the biggest things I think I would harp on.
All right. So um yeah, that's like I said, you just a lot of different things. Uh so over 20 years, you know, what what would you say, since you were doing it for 20 years and you started with the one route, and we didn't even get into eventually the second route? How many years passed before you got your second route?
Uh, so the second one that came about. So my territory was split with another gentleman, and
Right, but just how many years from you got into business till you got the next route?
I want to say maybe three, maybe 3 years.
Okay, so three, maybe four. Just kind of gray, maybe
Yeah,
two. So
right.
all right, so you rock out for those few years. How
Yeah.
many years before you went to the third?
Uh, Maybe 2 years. Yeah, 2 years after that. Well, I sold I sold one. The Sara Lee came out. It was all Sara Lee. I bought that to secure it in my territory so nobody else could buy it. And then, so actually, I bought one, two, three, four. I actually bought 5 routes, but I just consolidated.
Right. So the territories that you were in as you were buying the routes, you just consolidated them and added on to. So, but it ended up being three.
Right. So basically, as guys were getting out, I knew that. Um, so again, we're talking 15, 20 years ago, but when routes came available, we would have bidding wars where something come available, a guy's like, hey, I want 220. And another guy would be like, I'll give you 240. Another guy's like, all right, I'll give you 260. So I understood that, and I knew that I needed to secure business in my territory as far as like um, certain accounts. I only had Triafar Arnold Sara Lee. I didn't have the Thomases, and I didn't have no, I didn't have the Sara Lee at the time, and I didn't want someone else um, to have the opportunity to come into these accounts and take business away from me. And that's why I would go to those people myself, and I would inquire, you know, what their intentions are. Some guys just want to get out. It wasn't for them. Other guys just um, were moving or divorced or something like that. So I would go to those guys, and make those behind the scenes kind of deals. I didn't wait for business to come to me. I went to them for that extra business because in my mind I knew I could grow things, put somebody on a
Hmm.
truck, grow it some more, put another buddy on a truck, and then if I own 5 or 6 routes, now I can just manage them, and I can just when someone needs time off, I can jump on a truck. So then I'm more into, managing those businesses together. And that's kind of what I was going for when I started kind of purchasing all these routes and making these investments.
Right. So well, the reason I was asking is just to get the time frame from route one to two, three, and I
So
know you
yeah,
combined a few
I would
different
say
routes.
like every 3 years I was buying a route.
Right. So yeah, so 3, 6, 9. So by 10 years in, you had three routes, the equivalent of what you would
Yes.
say is three routes. We're adding different
Yes.
territories and different stores and stops onto various routes. So
Right.
with that being said, once you did that, and I know it was because we were in the same depot, you were partner with Beanbo. So let's talk a little bit about that partnership over the 2 decades, from working in the warehouse, figuring out you wanted to get into the business versus just working for the company. Once you became a partner, the early stages from like year one all the way up to the third route, around 9 or 10 years, how was the partnership with Beanball?
So when I first started, um, even running routes for the company, I mean, they had a team. um, they were just leaders, right? If I came across situations that I had a harder time handling with customers, um, they were right there, and we'd have a conversation. And if they felt like I was um, in the right of whatever was going on, they had my back. So we set up a meeting, and we'll just have a conversation with the customer. Um, they were very a proactive team, right? Where they're forecasting what's going to happen in the next 2, 3 months, letting us know, hey, listen, stuffing season is coming up. I know it's in a couple months from now, but we got displays coming in for you guys. Reach out to your customers sooner than later. Here's our price points. So it felt like you really had a solid team behind you, right? Like you weren't on your own. Um, if certain things would happen, if you know, you fell sick or ill or something like that, and if you reached out to them, a lot of times there would be actually, I know some managers would jump on the route for you, just to relieve you of that emergency or what was going on. So they understood, they understood that the company was only as good as the people on the bottom, which would be the drivers, right? Because we're like the last line of defense, if you want to call it, where if you know if we are productive in what we do, that means that the company is maximizing their sales and they're being productive on that end, which means everybody gets bonuses and all this other stuff. So it was a really good, I believe, it was a really good partnership that we had. Um, I never had any issues with management in my territories. Yeah, it was pretty solid. Um, and then as years go by, company gets bought out. Gee, I think I got bought out 3 times since I've been there. Each time a new company comes in, they got their own agendas and stuff like that. Um, some management leave would replace with other ones, but at the time when new management would come in, a lot of times it was either drivers that were um, ready to change gears. So they had a ton of experience, right? So it's easy when you have a fellow uh, driver or business guy who's now your manager or representative. I want to say manager because representative, and he understands the business, so he understands everything that's going on, and he can help you, or you guys can help each other because he gets it. As the years go by,
That was gonna be part of my next question was how did you navigate those the relationship and the leadership dynamics as they change within the company, and you kind of answered that because over the years that you've been there the turnaround has happened, and I've been there to see that turnaround from the old regime of the lifers, that I would say some of the dudes that came in as bread route owners and worked for the company on the routes, and then they were part of the management team that were the partners, that were the supporting staff, I would say, as far as management was. And we kind of seen those buyouts and that turnover to the newer staff that has came in. So that was what I was just asking, some of those challenges as far as with the during the time with your partnership with Beambo, how that affected you, and just dealing with the Beambo brand over the last 20 years, and seeing yourself, me seeing you exit the way you did. And I kind of saw during the roundtables and the meetings when you were asking for certain information, or just looking to see what type of changes were going to be happening and what direction they were going in, and just kind of you looking for change in certain areas. Am I right or wrong with what I'm saying?
so towards so
Before you just
so
got out.
so so I'll back up just a little more just to give a little more content. Um, so
Content
um,
or context?
context.
Okay.
So when there was like a time frame when they went away from um, drivers becoming management, and they felt that drivers were too in um, with the current IOs. They didn't want them as management because they were too close of a relationship where they wouldn't have uh, bimbos or BBUs best interests, right? Their thought process was they're going to take their side. So um, that's kind of where it all kind of went. I'll just say it went to shit. I'll be honest with you, it just went to shit because you're bringing in people off the streets working for, whether he's working for paint, working for a restaurant, you know, how do you trust as a business owner? How do you trust somebody coming in from the outside with zero experience, but they can pull up numbers, they can be on a laptop, and so that I think that was one of the most pivotal moments that things started going south when I need to mentor. So when you ask me how I dealt with the challenges, right? One of the things that I would do is as I would get new management, I would actually mentor these people, right? And I would tell them, I says, before you go around trying to tell people what to do, you need to understand the language that they speak. And every business person, whether it's me or you or we talk one thing only, and that's money, right? So if you come in and say, I can show you how to make more money if you do this, that's a different conversation than, hey, I really want you to do this because of this, right? So now moving forward, as I'm seeing all these people coming in with no experience, and I'm mentoring these people, and all of a sudden they're becoming more aggressive towards me or towards drivers, um, because they just want more control. they set up these roundtable meetings because they want to have conversations of our opinions. And I voiced my opinion in a very business oriented way, where I explained there's certain things that are going on that I believe if you make changes that you could get better. And it just felt every time I went there to have these conversations, um, you know, I felt there was just a big lack of leadership um, when it came to that. Where if you can't admit your own faults, if you can't admit your own um, problems or issues that you're currently having, or own your own shit, right? Own your shit. Once you own your shit, now you can try to fix it, right? But when you don't even when you set up these table meetings and you hear good suggestions or you hear good things, right? It's not just writing on a pad. It's having the conversation with, you know what, I think that's a great idea. Let me talk to so and so. I'll send an email, right? So if you do that and you do start having those conversations with your upper management or your corporate people or whatever, when's the last time anybody would come back and would say, "Hey, I did talk to corporate or so and so, and they thought that was a great idea," or they said, "You know, we really can't do that for legal reasons," but you're never given that, right? So they keep having these meetings with no agendas, and I keep bringing up a lot of issues, and I start to bring solutions with my issues. So it's not just to complain, it's just making suggestions, right? I feel if you guys do this, you'll get a better outcome. I feel if you guys do this, you'll get a better outcome. Why won't you try this? Why won't you try that? So I stopped going to them. I put so much time, blood, sweat, tears into this company that I legit wanted to make a difference. I legit wanted to convey certain things that I believe could turn the company around, but without the leadership, it goes nowhere. Does that
I
about
get
sum it
it.
up?
No, 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 no. That was again. So that's what I asked about how you felt about the partnership with the company. So with that being said, you talked about. I appreciate you sharing that and being so candid with all those things. And what I heard you kind of my take on it was just it's a difficult it's a
Relationship.
challenge, let's say, for you to be supported by someone that doesn't know how to support you, right?
Correct.
So the understanding is you're saying that you were mentoring or you were trying to explain to some of the guys or the management that was just starting out that was never in the business before. And we talk about this all the time as far as us being IOs and people that deliver bread and are in the bread business and are out in the field and in the game or on the in the mix, so to say, boots on the ground. It's a different animal when just you say, well, I have a business degree and I graduated college and I've worked in this industry and I'm going to apply for this job in this field. And you may be good at business, but to understand the business of bread is different. And that's what I think you're just saying. So, with that being said, knowing what you know as far as being partnered with the brand, which was Beanbo, and so just asking you your opinion, you personally, where do you see the bread business headed in the next 5 to 10 years? You know what I mean? And I have another part to that question. And just as not this company, where do you see bread business, the business of bread itself? Just give me a short synopsis. Where do you think is headed in the next 5 to 10 years?
Um, I think I geez, that's such a tough question because there's so much going on right now with as far as like shelf lives and stuff like that. And I know companies are gonna try to cut the cost of operations down And one of the ways they're going to probably try to do that is by getting rid of drivers, right? To have like direct ships and stuff like that on certain items. Does that mean that um, the whole business is going to be that way? I don't think so. I think there's still going to be your pockets of people that um, are still going to do what they do now. Still going to be um, positions or business opportunities to be an IO, right? Um, it's going to be like one of those things where people are going to be like, I didn't know you could still do that, right? Like people never really knew you could own a bread route and make money. It's going to be the same kind of thing. It's just, I think it's going to be smaller volume of it, and um, I think, I mean, bread's never going to go away, right? It's not, but it depends on which way the economy goes, and if the economy goes, it's all going to determine the cost of operations. And if the economy goes to the point where it just costs too much to produce that product, they'll probably cut SKUs. They'll probably mainstream different, just cut back on varieties and stuff like that. But I don't think the actual business will be, you know, dead as far as like opportunity for other people to own businesses. There might not be as many, but between all the different brands and stuff like that, there's always going to be opportunity for someone who wants to work.
That's I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be my follow-up statement to the things that you were just saying. I don't care how much prices change. I don't care what the cost of making a loaf of bread turns into. They're still going to be able to sell it. It's unfortunate that a lot of things are going that route. You said a key statement: bread is never going to go away. It's here forever. Bread was been here since Jesus got here. He broke that bread,
breaking
and
bread.
we continue to break bread right now, and we'll talk about that in a little while again. But so that's where you see the future of bread going. What's your honest take on the brand as we know it, Beanbo, and the business model future?
I know they're doing a lot of root restructures. Um, that will benefit in the long run, as far as being able to have routes that are profitable enough um, in order to make a living, right? That's one thing that's changed, right? So, um, you know, 20 years ago, again, you could take a $10,000 route and you can do very well with it. Now, uh, running a $10,000 route, you are not going to make it. The cost of operations is too high. So, what I do like is the fact that they recognize that, and they through their numbers are thinking, all right, well, if you have a route that's averaging at least 15,000 a week, you can sustain the cost of operations, or you can make a living. And but it took too long. You got to be proactive and not reactive. And this company is very reactive, not proactive. They wait too long to react to certain things that are going on in their own business, where it's a miscommunication, whether whatever, all the different you know uh, places this goes, or but um, they if they do things right, I think in order for them to get back on track, um, they need um, leaders, right? They need leaders, and they need people that have been in the business. So if it was me and I had that company, and I saw the amount of money it was losing, I would go on a hiring spree for veteran bread guys, right? Those are the guys that made lots of money. They know how to make money. They have the experience, and it's not just, oh, I sent an email out, I'm just waiting on it. No, these guys double check. These guys, you know, they're in the stores. They know what it takes, right? And those are the guys that you need by your side. So you got to you got to stop thinking, oh, well, they're going to take the IO side. Oh, they're going to favor them. No, they're not. They're going to do what's best for that person. If that if I was hired as MSL, right, I want to do the best that I can to help my fellow guy make as much money as he can. Well, what's that going to do? That's going to make more money for the company. So I would stop hiring people out of company and keep it in company. And that's where a lot of successful companies have done. They keep their hiring within. They know the people, they know the history. So you already know that if I'm coming to you and I did a shitty job as a root guy and I always owed money or I mismanaged my business, do you think I should be in management? No. No, because what? What am I going to teach the next guy? How to fail? No. Right? So at the end of the day, you need veteran guys, right? So stop hiring all these friggin' people that worked at Sherman Williams Paint, that worked at restaurants, that you want to mold them into these company corporate people. But the problem is this business was built by Freihofer's family over 150 years ago, I believe, going door to door, selling their name, horse and buggy. That's how it grew. We grew a bit off our backs. Corporate didn't do that. No, we did that. So you need to recruit those same people that know how to do that. And it's all right to run numbers and logistics, but you're not going to you're running a company into the ground just by logistics itself. You can run all the numbers you want. It ain't going to make that bread disappear. It ain't going to make somebody buy the bread. What are you going to do? Every customer, show your laptop to the customer and say, oh, look, this bread over here. And it shows that this. Do you want to purchase? Like, no, come on, man. Let's be smart. Go get those guys that have the experience, 10 years and have the interviews with those people. And if they have a great track record, offer them a position. Keep them within the company. You know what I'm saying? That's what, oh man, it just I get so frustrated sometimes because like, dude, like I put so much into this company, and if those guys would have came to me and say, you know what, Rick, before you leave, uh, we believe in what you did. We know you're a great worker. We want you on our team to help grow our business, and we're gonna pay you what you're worth. I would have taken it. I would have taken it. Because then you're saying we know we know that we're having big issues and we're going to do something drastic. We're going to change how we're doing things in order to get a different outcome, right? And if you feel that bringing in people with experience with bread or vending or some sort of, I would just stick to bread and Entenmann's are within your company. There's Bimbo is all over the country. Are you telling me you can't go recruit drivers that you know are good workers to work for you? It blows my mind. Why not? Why wouldn't you? It's at your fingertips. Why pay money to have what is it, GoDaddy or all this other crap that you're gonna go and look at all these resumes and this, oh, this guy looks good, oh, that guy looks good. You only see on freaking paper. That's all you see, paper, right? Stop with the friggin' paper and go get guys that know what the heck they're doing that can help grow your business. I just get heated up, I'm just like, but
No, I get it. And listen, I appreciate your truth. And that's the reason I wanted to talk to you. And again, I like to be clear. It's not no bashing session because it's just the honest truth of your experience in dealing with the company. And I know because I deal with them as well. And a lot of the things you're saying are some of the sentiments that I agree with wholeheartedly, because I know for a fact, though, that you cannot tell me from looking at a computer what you deem to be the best route or course of action without stepping foot into the store for 3 months, no matter what
100%.
store it is. I'm telling you right now, when I get a text message from someone that says, hey, just giving you a heads up that XYZ, this product, that product, whatever, needs to go in here, and maybe we should check whatever the case is on this product. And I have to say, I don't deliver that product there. I'm not the
And
guy you should be talking to
you
about
know,
that. Wait a minute. And
it's
then
crazy.
and then someone else has another issue that's unrelated to the issue that I'm being talked about, and it's not getting addressed because no one knows. And this is not a bad thing until it is a bad thing. When money is lost for both parties, then that's when it needs to be addressed. And I think that's
Leadership,
what you're saying as
leadership,
far as
leadership, leadership.
reaction. Instead of proactive, they're being reactive in certain
Right.
areas. And it's not everyone. It's just when we're dealing with automation, and I think everyone's getting dumbed down when it comes to technology, right? We have the smartphones, we send an email, we send a text message, we CC everyone. You could CC everyone on an email, but you need to see what it looks like in the store. And when that is getting more and more common, that there's no what do you call that? There's no tangible evidence. Hold on a second. I have to add myself. Here we are. So what I was saying was, when there's no tangible evidence, like if you can't touch it, see it, feel it, and like you said, presentation is big for you, is big for me as well. That's the problem. You can't just go with what's on paper or the email. Hey, I got an email that your store was XYZ. Well, it would be better if you saw for yourself. That's all I'm saying. It'd be better if they saw for themselves. That's all. It makes a difference. So I get your level. I'm sorry. I get your frustration, and I don't want to stay on that too long. My next question was going to be, that's we see how you view it. We know where it's going, or where we think it's going. So let's walk through. Tell me a little bit about the decision to sell. When did you know it was time? Like, and I know a lot of what you just were saying is probably some of those reasons that led up to this, it being time.
So how do I?
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you. You know what? I'm gonna tell you how it is as far as a business standpoint, right? As a business standpoint, okay. In my case, in my situation, okay. When I've invested, what, 500,000, maybe 500,000, $600,000 into this company. And that's not of my own money, right? That's just taking out loans and paying them off and this and that. So, and when I start losing money, and it's not because of me, it's because of decisions made that I have no control over. Um, I give it a chance for things to turn around. And I had a conversation actually with my father, who's a big business person also. He owns a construction company, and he has about 50 or 60 employees. And I'm telling about some of this stuff. And it got to the point where I come to realize that I feel like, again, my situation, I'm under an old contract. I'm 43 years old, right? I feel like I'm on a sinking ship. and time is passing me by. And if I stay on that sinking ship and I ride it through, right, right, it's my own fault if it sinks because I'm seeing things going on, right, that are hurting the company and hurting my business, and I'm not seeing anything being changed about it. I'm not seeing any direction. I'm not told direction. I'm not seeing any growth, new business, anything like that. So for me, I had to make that decision where being 43, I still have 20 years to give to a company who will appreciate and who will respect what I can bring to the table for them. And um, if I wait on the company to react to what's going on, and it could take 2 to 3 years for that to happen. Well, now I'm pushing 47, 48. Well, now to get back into a different um, uh, field or different career, it's a lot more difficult to do that because of an age thing. Now, younger guys coming into the business, buying in now, they have the next, they could get this figured out in 6 years. They could get this figured out in 3 years. Who knows? Right. But for what I foresee in my situation, I need to jump ship and I got to make a decision and I can't keep waiting for them to make decisions or keep wondering what their direction they're doing, what direction they're going because you never know and they won't tell you. Right. So based on everything that I've explained to you about the changes, in business, the changes in company, and the direction that it's going, for me, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. Um, so that's why I made that jump into a whole nother field, into a whole nother company.
Well,
And I don't.
I appreciate you even sharing that. So okay, we'll get into the next chapter in a minute. So 2 weeks out, you just closed 2 weeks ago, which again I didn't even know what was going on, and that's a good thing. I keep it close to the vest to myself. I respect that so much. So 2 weeks out from closing, if I could tell you to give me a couple words, just 2 words, how you feel.
Happy and stress free.
That's and it's crazy because my next question was going to be, what emotions are you experiencing now that it's done?
I just went hunting today. I just got out of the woods a couple hours ago.
Okay, that's dope. I like to hear that. So looking back 20 years in the bread business, tell me, what are you most proud of that you did over those 20 years in that business? A couple things, one or two things you're most proud of getting done,
Um, I
or
think
what you did, how
Bill,
what you mentored someone,
I
showed, shared.
well, geez, that could be a lot. I brought in a
No,
lot
just
of
one. Just
people.
tell me something you're really proud of
So,
over the last 20
um,
years as it relates to this business.
I think one of the biggest things my customers, right? They all
Customer
know me.
relationships.
Oh yeah, like even the some of these customers I have, they want to go hunting with me. They want me to go, they want to keep in touch, right? And that's the relationship I built with these people for 20 years, right? I know, you know, I was kind of their you're you're not just in this business, you're not just the bread guy, right? And if you want to be really good, you're also like a therapist sometimes because everybody unloads their shit on you. And and it depends on which way you want to go with it, right? So I know who likes to golf. I know so and so his wife had surgery. I know that, so I know all these people and I know what they've gone through. I've known the highs, the lows, um, you know, you know, newborns and birthdays, and so I know all these people to where it's at a friend level, but still business level, right? And you can and you can still do that. You can have that relationship as long as you understand that just because you're friends or just because that you have that type of relationship, that at the end of the day, it's still business, right? It's still business. And these people have gone to bat for me many times. These people have given me many opportunities to make a lot of money. Um, so that's a probably my number one thing. Like my wife is like, "How are you gonna tell your customers?" Like I'm literally like trembling because their eyes just drop. Like they're just, their mouths drop. Like what? Like so that was really hard to do. The other thing too is I brought in some people. I got one guy worked for me, and it he was a little rough around the edges, but um, I he was young too, and I trained him, and he worked for me for a little bit, and then he ended up buying a Pepperidge Farm route, and he applied everything. And now that it's his, obviously it's a different situation versus it was mine before, but um, he everything that I've taught him, he took over there, and he just killed it, killed it. And people were getting so pissed at him because he was not leaving any money on the table, right? He was just killing it. And I reached out to him one time, and I'm like, hey, how things going, this and that. And he's always kind of calling me, pick my brain. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so we went to go play some pool one night, and he just looked at me, says, listen, he's like, I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I could have done a much better job for you, and I understand that now. And he's like, thank you. So that's pretty big for me, when you can, take somebody and, I'm not saying he wasn't, he already had the tools necessary. He just needed the right push or the right kind of mentorship or leadership to take him to the next level where he's doing phenomenal, phenomenal.
Oh,
So
that's good. I I appreciate you again sharing and being so candid. So you're all set. You're out the business. So what's next for
that's it.
Ricky? What's the next chapter look like? If you don't mind sharing. If you don't want to, that's fine. You're gonna keep it to
No,
yourself. That's
I'm
fine.
actually no, I'm actually really really proud about it. I got a job position working at Pratt Whitney. I went in for an interview, and um, just talked a lot about you know what we talk about, stuff like that. And I was just blown away at some of their comments and
Right.
reactions and stuff like that. Where I'm like, I was just taken back. I'm like, wow, like that's some leadership stuff right there. So I was just real excited to get you know, again, you're starting at the bottom, but that's okay because, I like what I see, and I'm just ready to just build my name up again. So pretty
Yeah.
stoked.
There you go. That's good. Good for you. I'm happy that you had it all planned out. You got in, you safely got out. You got all your limbs, your back is still straight.
That's the key. That's the key.
Your
Balance.
back is still straight. You don't
That's
have any
it.
giddy up in your walk. You know what I mean?
Yep. No
It's a
hip
major
replacements,
thing in
no
this
knee
business,
replacements.
man. Yeah, it's a major thing in this business to be able-bodied still, and it's a blessing. So, again, I appreciate you sharing and coming on and taking the time out to be so candid, honest, and truthful. We really thank you so much for being here with us tonight. 20 years of dedication, building relationships, serving the community, and running a successful business. That's something to be incredibly proud of. You know what I mean? You've been a great example to everyone in the industry and what it means to do it right. And I know your knowledge and experience will continue to help others, even as you move into the exciting next chapter in your life. Congratulations on a successful sale and the best of luck with whatever comes next for you, your family, and everybody around you. again, thank you so much for being here. I know we went for an hour and 15 minutes, and it's not easy, but when you really have an honest, true, genuine story like yours, you don't have to make up anything, and you don't have to look for fluff, and it's nothing fake about it. So again, that's the reason why I was happy that you called me just to check on me, and it turned into this. And for anyone out there that's looking to get into the bread business or has a question, this is what it looks like when you buy a route, you work a route, you end up buying multiple routes, and you sell it. And I don't want it to go over anyone's head that about 10 minutes ago, you just said you invested almost $600,000 into this business. And I know over 20 years that you got that money back. So you can take that for what it's worth. And again, people always hear these numbers and they think of it as a get rich quick thing. And it's not that you're going to get rich quick. You're going to be able to make some good money, sustain your life, build your portfolio, and if you invest it correctly and use the resources, the knowledge, information, and the product and the people the right way, and allow yourself to be used the right way, you'll make some money. And what you do with it is up to you. So again, you sold your business and you're going into another chapter. You just said it, you're 43 years old. You're in a position to work another 20 years for this company, or 5 to 10 years and work for yourself again. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. There are a lot of people out there that want to get into this business. I encourage them to do so if you think it's for you. It's not easy, but it's possible. Ricky, again, thank you so much. Appreciate you. And as I say to everybody, stay blessed and keep stacking.
Thank you much. Thank you much. Appreciate you.
All right. So I'm going to wrap up, and I'll get with you in 1 second. Sit tight. So I like to thank everybody for taking the time out of their night and joining us. This has been RBL, Real Bread Life, Real Bread League, and Real Bread Logistics. So what we have going on coming up in the future is more of the same. I have my man Chris Mateo in there in the chat. Chris, thank you so much. I couldn't really get in too much to say much to you. I wanted to let Ricky get all his stuff off, but me and you will chat. And I didn't miss that you said you got somebody who was 28 years in and they just retired. Love to have them on. And we will get you back on so you can share and do your thing as well. I love it that, the generations are on all levels in the business. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all platforms, Real Bread League, Real Bread Life. Catch us there every day, every way. See you next week, Thursday, 6:15. That's all I got for now. Stay blessed. Keep stacking.